Welcome, Leafs fans, to a very, very late episode of Game Over Toronto. Yes, for all of you guys live in the chat here right now, it is 1:30 a.m., 1:20 a.m. Eastern Standard Time here in Toronto. But hey, at least we have a good stream, a good game to talk about. The Leafs beat off the LA Kings.
Yeah,
Okay, whatever, man. My mind is
it's late
fried.
edition, so
Yeah, my mind is fried. They convincingly beat, how about that? They convincingly beat the LA Kings 3-0 to start off the California road trip. Armand, how'd you feel about this game? How do you feel actually,
honestly,
before we talk about the game, how do you feel right now? This late
I'm
episode.
tired. I've got to be at work in my office in 5 hours, so
Oh god.
fun stuff. This will be a quiet edition of Game Over Toronto because we both have family slash girlfriends that are in the room next to us, so we have to be silent. But yeah, it was honestly a good game. Like at least they made it worth it. Like it would have sucked if this was just a rut, especially because we've been bad 6 games in a row essentially. So
Yeah, exactly. And coming into this game, it's weird, right? Because the Leafs historically, or I guess like this season or the last couple of seasons, they've had a trend of performing very well against good teams. And the Kings obviously are a fantastic team. They're one of the best teams, especially in their defensive metrics. They are
yes,
one of, if not the absolute best teams in the league. So I'm looking at their stats. They only allow 26.7 shots against per game played, second best in the league. They have the
yep,
least goals against in the entire league, and their PK is the best in the league as well. So the Leafs had a tough challenge against them, and they outshot them 31-29, 3 goals.
and
You can't really say much else
and
about that, right?
honestly, like yeah, like firstly, yeah, the Kings are an insanely good defensive team. Like you said with the metrics, they play a really good neutral zone that really limits your controlled entries. But even before, like, shots were 31-29, but halfway through the game, like midway through the second period when it was 2-0, I think shots were 19-8 for the
Mm-hmm.
Leafs.
Mm-hmm.
And really, score effects came into play. And as the Kings pushed more offensively, they got, they evened up that shot differential. But honestly, the Leafs played such a good game for the first, I would say, like 33, 34 minutes
Mm-hmm.
until, the Kings kind of stepped up their game. But
Until that fight happened.
yeah. But like, yeah, honestly, the Leafs played such a solid first 30 minutes. It was impressive how well they, got past the Kings' defensive structure. Matthews, I think, had something like 4 or 5 shots on goal within the first 6 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And a great
All
scoring
from
chance as well.
pretty, yeah, all from pretty dangerous areas. One from right in front of the net, and then like I think the other three were high slot, but like really clean shots. So yeah, they just found a way to kind of break down the structure of the Kings, and honestly, they played a great game overall.
Yeah, exactly. And the first period, obviously it was 0-0 to end the period, but the Leafs definitely controlled that period. It was 11 shots on goal against 6. Matthews and
Yep.
Marner each had a fantastic opportunity, and honestly, the only one scary moment I would say that the Kings had was that Fiala, Dano, and more I guess trio play
Yeah.
8 minutes into the game, and even on that play, Jones, we didn't even mention him. Martin Jones in net today.
Shut out.
Yeah, shutout game against the Kings, his former team, and he had a fantastic stop. We'll talk a little bit more about Jones in a bit, but yeah, that first period, like one high scoring chance in my opinion. I don't know if you saw anything differently, but the
Yeah.
Leafs definitely had a couple there. And even the Leafs power play, they had a couple chances, doesn't go in, but a solid first period effort, right?
Yeah.
And going into the second period, that's where the entire game kind of blew open, right? And we had a couple star players kind of come out and say, hey, this is our game to take over, right? Nylander and Bertuzzi, they start off the period hot. They have a 2-on-1 miss chance,
Hmm.
literally a minute and 30 seconds into the game. But then
Yep.
Nylander is able to score, I believe, 5 minutes into that period. I want to get your thoughts on that goal because I had some positive things to say about that.
Oh yeah, I mean, honestly, the first two goals I think were pretty similar, and it
Mm,
starts with a very tenacious forecheck.
hmm
It was a lost draw, so we
hmm
didn't even have possession, and then Bertuzzi and Tavares, I think, were the two guys that really led that
Yep.
forecheck. Bertuzzi specifically being the F1 there. Tavares is the one who picks off that pass along the boards, I believe,
hmm
and sends it to Bertuzzi.
hmm
And the pass that Bertuzzi makes was excellent. It was
hmm
really creative, really deceptive, and yeah, Nylander probably won't make a mistake from there. So
Oh
yeah, just
well,
a really well executed play.
yeah, exactly. Like you said, it wasn't even a an easy, I guess, like shot either. I believe that he bunts it off midair too, right? So it was
Oh yeah,
a good play by Nylander there, getting a good eye on it, good hand-eye coordination to get in the back of the net. But yeah, like you said, I loved the effort and the responsibility that the Leafs had today when it came to turnovers or like the face-off draw misses that we had. That goal, like you mentioned, right? It was Tavares losing the face-off draw, but being an absolute dog along the boards and getting the puck back, right? And that's exactly what happened in that second goal too, right? Yarncroc is able to get a goal with 3 minutes later. It was right at the end of a power play, I believe. A
yeah.
Dubois hook in.
Power play just ended. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Dubois hooks Matthews, and honestly, let's talk about that power play a little bit first, because that top unit had a ton of great chances on it.
yeah,
I was a little critical about our power play earlier on, where our top units, I guess they weren't as active
yeah.
as like the
They
second
didn't gel
unit.
as much
Exactly.
on the first
Exactly, and
power play.
I was happy that Kiev actually split the time up and gave the second power play unit a little bit more playing room. But for this
Yeah,
power play, the top unit had 4 or 5 great chances. They were unable to score, but all of the inner workings or the behind the scenes, I guess, like plays or thoughts or strategies were pretty solid in my opinion. I think they had a ton of great chances. They just weren't able to put it at the back of the net.
yeah.
But yeah, right at the end of that power play, Yarncroc is able to get a goal, and it was Bertuzzi losing
Bertuzzi
a
again. Yeah,
glove. Yeah, he loses a glove off the draw, but sticks with it. I mean, he was in a weird situation where he was kind of no man's land. Should he go pick up his glove, or should he go to the bench and get his puck again, or get his glove? But instead, he decides to stick with it. He wins a puck battle with Englund, gets it to Yarny, and yeah, a easy goal for Yonkrock to make. What were your thoughts on that second goal?
yeah. It's a similar thing where again it was a lost draw. We didn't have possession. Bertuzzi was the F1, and he was just incredible all night on the forecheck. And honestly, the Kings made some uncharacteristic mistakes in their D zone, but I think
Hmm
that's forced by a really aggressive forecheck. And Bertuzzi without a glove stays with the play. Domi's the one who picks off the pass
hmm
again, the center,
hmm
and he passes it, I think, back to Bertuzzi,
hmm
who just makes an area pass. And Yarncroke also, like, credit to him. It's a great move. He gets Talbot to go for the poke check and then goes backhand. Uh, Again, just phenomenal work, smothering forecheck. You create your own luck, and they created their own turnovers, and they capitalized on them.
hmm
Just really, really, really solid play for that first those first two goals.
Exactly, exactly. And to end off that period, the Kings they get a power play chance.
Hmm.
Bertuzzi gets a tripping penalty against Dubois, but Jones held down the goddamn fort on that power play,
Yeah,
or that penalty kill. Sorry. He had 6 fantastic saves, a couple like very quick rebound opportunities, which he was able to stifle and completely negate. Let's talk a little bit about Jones because he had a pretty fantastic night, and that power play in particular instilled quite a bit of confidence in me about Jones moving forward, and maybe him playing a couple more games, maybe even playing tomorrow.
Yeah. So Jones had an amazing game, and especially on that power play, like you said, I think there was a sequence where he made like three stops in a row,
Hmm. Hmm.
and his puck tracking was
It's
really
phenomenal.
incredible. Especially with the rebounds. But yeah, the conversation about who plays tomorrow is it's interesting to me because, in my opinion, and I'm curious on what your thoughts are. I
Hmm.
know that Jones just got a shutout, but that's a tough assignment to play back-to-back nights, especially with one of the games being the LA Kings. And, I think we face the Ducks next. Am I wrong in that? Oh, yeah, we face
Let's
the
see.
Ducks tomorrow at 9 p.m., or I
Yeah.
guess today at 9 p.m. now. Um, but yeah, honestly, like, I think you give that game to Hildeby.
Hmm.
You're going to have to use him at some point. If the goal is to keep Samsonov for essentially an entire week without even playing a game or practicing with the Marlies, which is what Keith said.
Hmm. We'll talk
Um,
about Samsonov towards the end.
yeah,
Yeah.
like Hildeby is going to need to be used at some point. Joseph Fall is not coming back soon, so why are we waiting? Just, you know, I think you play him tomorrow, and it's the Ducks, and this might they're not a great team. Obviously, we're not great against bad teams,
I was just gonna say that.
um, but it's a game that I think you should give Hildeby, and you let Jones rest for the next one because he's going to be used a lot as well. Because yeah, I mean he's our starter right now,
Hmm.
and honestly, I'm just glad that Jones is playing well because yeah, we'd be in a very bad position if he was like his past 3-4 years and not very good. So
Yeah, no, I agree. I do want to see Hildeby. I want to see the giant 6 foot. What is it? 6'5", 6'4",
6'7".
6'7". Goddamn, what a
Yeah,
monster!
he's a tall boy.
Yeah, I
And
want to.
also like I've read the scouting reports, his positioning, and I've watched some Marlies games. His
Hmm.
his positioning is like really good.
Hmm.
So like, that just adds to the size. He's an interesting prospect.
Hmm. For sure, for sure. And he's played fantastic for the Marlies too. I'm missing the stats on him right now, but he's had a fantastic first couple like 14 games with the Marlies this
Yeah,
season.
919 save percentage in 15 games
There
and
you go.
2.2 goals against, which
Yeah.
is more impressive. Like those are pretty solid numbers to begin with, but it's more impressive because the Marlies have been super inconsistent defensively. So it's a tough team to play behind when you're a goalie. So hats off to Hildeby. I don't know what Jones's numbers were in the AHL, but they weren't good. So,
Hmm. And I mean,
I'm excited to see how he does in
yeah,
AHL, I mean NHL time.
and that makes sense because the Leafs, I mean, we've had a lot of injuries in our decor, so it makes sense that because we've
Yeah,
had to call up a lot of our
yeah, they've been
Marlies
missing,
guys, and
yeah,
exactly,
Legasin, Benoit,
yeah.
Lajoie as well.
So that's all good things to see, and yeah, I personally do think that we are going to see Hildeby tomorrow. I would prefer and want to see him, obviously, see how he does against an Anaheim team that's obviously one of, if not the worst teams in the league right now. I believe they're second last, they're 30th in the league, I believe. Let me just make sure that's right. Yes, they are 30th in the league right now. So this is a pretty easy game, and again, second half of a back-to-back, a game that hopefully we can shelter him a little bit more too. Maybe give him an easy night, but that is an ideal situation for him to come in. The only question is now, like, Martin Jones had a absolutely fantastic night, and there is some question. Maybe you ride the hot hand. I'm not too sure. This is going to be Keith's decision at the end of the day. I don't think there is a wrong decision, but I am leaning towards Hildeby at this moment.
Yeah,
Let's finish off with that third period. The Kings had a little bit of resurgence there. It was 12 shots on goal against 7, and it starts off early on in the period where a LA Kings goal gets called off. A whistle was blown before the goal celebration, and upon review, a Kings player knocks the pads of Martin Jones, which obviously is not allowed to create a goal. A lot of the Kings fans,
yeah.
shocked Pikachu face, and
You
I'm
heard the
like,
refs you suck
yeah,
chance
yeah,
going after that. But yeah, I mean, it was goaltending interference. There's a
exactly.
reason that they didn't challenge it, and yeah, like it was pushed in for sure. Yeah, good
Hmm.
call in my opinion.
Exactly. And then a little bit later, the Leafs get on a power play. It was Lafreniere tripping on Nyes. But and oh sorry, yeah, tripping on Nyes, and then
Yeah.
30 seconds in, Tavares takes a hooking penalty to make it 4-on-4 with a minute and 30 left. The Kings decide to pull Talbot to give them a 5-on-3 or a 5-on-4 chance, with roughly around 3 minutes left in the period and still a minute and 30 left on the 4-on-4. On this, Gio makes a fantastic block shot. He had three
Yeah.
block shots in the night, 54 in the season. I think he has been huge, a huge addition back on the team since he's came back from injury. What were your thoughts on that whole sequence and on Gio?
Yeah. So when the Kings had their goalie pulled, I thought we were pretty damn good defensively. I will say, like, credit to the Kings. I would say for the last half of that game, like, midway through the second period, all the way up until the very end, the Kings controlled the majority of play. And again, score effects come into play there. But
Mm-hmm,
yeah, they were pouring on quite a few chances, and I was a bit worried when Tavares took that penalty that we're talking 5-on-4 rather than 6-on-5, so there's more space,
mm-hmm,
and they were already the momentum was kind of riding on their side, and it's only a two-goal lead. But honestly, we played that so damn well.
mm-hmm,
Huge blocks by Giordano. Jones came up big, I think, a couple times. And Marner also, after a very bad game uh, last time. He came up really huge today, and especially on that 6-on-5.
mm-hmm,
He stops a passing attempt and ices it and almost scores. But and then yeah, Nylander with the steal puts it away, makes it 50 points on the season for him. I think that's the seventh person to do it this season. So yeah, he's been excellent as well, and what a game for him. But yeah, honestly, I was really worried when Tavares took that penalty, but they came up big. And
mm-hmm.
also shout out to Nyes for drawing two penalties with like 10 minutes to go in a
Yeah,
game that's tight. That's huge.
yeah. Let's talk about Nylander first, but I do want to loop back onto Nyes a little bit later on. Yeah, Nylander. This is he got 2 goals on the night. His 19th goal of the season, and there's been some rumors, a little bit of inkling that the contract negotiations have been going well for
Oh
Nylander
yeah.
the last couple of weeks. And there are some rumors saying that they might be pretty close. It might be maybe this week or not soon, or soon after that, that we could get a contract inked on paper. Quick shout outs. There's a guy in the chat, can't control life. He says you have a very soothing voice. Thank you. That's because I can't talk loud right now.
This is game over ASMR edition.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, talking about Nylander, it looks like the AAV that we're kind
Rumored.
of leaning towards right
Yeah.
now, or what's being rumored, is that 11 million for 8 years. What are your thoughts on that contract? What are your thoughts on giving that amount of money out to Nylander?
I mean, it comes from Kipper. It's not unexpected. I'm like it's a little rich for my taste, but you kind of gotta pay. I mean, he's having an amazing year, and
Hmm.
yeah, it is what it is. You kind of just hope that when Tavares' contract ends, it's not really an issue, and they essentially just swap contracts, and Tavares hopefully takes a bit of a discount and comes at a much lower number than the 11 he's at right now, and they could kind of just swap, and we will only have to deal with that, really tight cap just for next year.
Hmm.
But, with the way things are being talked about, it sounds like Friedman said it could happen as early as next week, and, Kipper
Exactly.
came in with a number. So, like, honestly, anything below 11.5, and I'm okay with it.
Hmm.
But I
I
will say
Yeah. Go ahead.
8 years is his 28 to 36, which is the same as Tavares when he signed.
Hmm.
Um, what scares me about that is a lot of Nylander's value comes with his just incredible skating ability in terms of his agility, his speed, just his, zone entries are insanely good. And I don't know what the numbers are, but to me, that ages a little poorly compared to, a guy like Tavares, who has always been shit at skating, a guy like Pavelski, who has always been shit at skating, Joe Thornton, who's always been shit at skating. That to me, those are the first things that kind of go. the legs when you age. So I'm a little worried that Nylander might not age as gracefully as some of the other elite players, but honestly, that's a problem for 5 6 years from now. So in my opinion, you kind of have to run with it. An 11.25 and by 8, it's fine by me.
Yeah,
Keep him. That's my thing. Don't lose him for nothing. That's it.
exactly. I'm on the same boat where the number is high right now, but we are expecting the cap to go up significantly. Now, keep in mind this is what we were saying when we signed the three guys for as much as we did at that time. So fingers crossed the
But we do
cap
know it's
does go
going
up.
up 4 million
I
next year.
mean,
Like that's a pretty
we
unless
we
another
also knew,
pandemic
yeah, we also
happens.
knew that the cap was going to go up a significant amount, and then bam, COVID hit. Uh, so you never know, but yeah, I agree. If the cap does go up significantly, which it is scheduled to go up, this contract is gonna be more, I guess, palatable. Even later on, it because it is like an 8-year deal. I personally think that that's a better option than, let's say, 6 years and then having a higher AAV. I think
Oh yeah,
that's gonna
100%.
that's gonna really
And you got to use that
stifle us a
eighth
lot.
year, because like other teams can only give him 7, so that is the biggest bargaining chip right now.
Exactly.
For the Leafs is so yeah, like
Exactly. So I think he's gonna make his money. 11 mil is expensive, but hopefully he is able to continue this uh I guess progression or
yeah.
his
I
offensive
mean,
output later on into his contract. He is only 27 years old. He's hitting his peak right now, and the Leafs are in win mode right now. We can't afford
yeah,
letting this guy walk for free. So I am fully in the board of him getting his money, sign this guy up, and he has contributed well like in the playoffs. He's
yeah,
been one of our consistent performers for the past couple of seasons in the playoffs.
yeah.
So I think, and especially
And if
the
you factor into his
physicality and the way that he plays, I think his skill set is very well suited for the playoffs. So I think he's going to be fantastic for us. I want to see him get signed up. There's a reason why I have his jersey or his number on my jersey. I love the guy. He's been one of my favorite
signed
Leafs. So
William Nylander
yeah,
jersey.
you lucky bastard.
Boom. But yeah, I agree. I mean, it's funny, like earlier into the year, or earlier in his career, he was kind of talked about as like a guy who never drives the net in a
Mhm.
perimeter player. And like, it blows my mind how people said that. Like, this guy drives the net all the time.
I
He's
think it's his
so,
nonchalant personality where
I think it's the nonchalant. Yeah,
he isn't
for
like a
sure.
dog that you normally see. He's like a very chill, relaxed dude. But yeah, there's a lot of underlying, I guess, metrics and a lot more to his game than it seems, I guess, like from the
Yeah.
outside looking in.
Yeah, I think people just had it wrong with him. So yeah,
Hmm.
and also he's 50 points in 35 games this season. Like
Yeah,
that's worth
monster.
more than $11 million right now at least.
Hmm.
It's about how it ages obviously, but in my opinion, I have no issues with that number
I think the one
as
thing with
long
the
as he's
yeah
consistent.
yeah I think the one thing with Nylander is his drive, right? We saw in, I guess, like, it's been a knock on him in previous seasons, is his mindset, and it seems like maybe this contract year is
Yeah.
what's the word? It's motivated him more than normal. I just hope that this mindset is something that he's gonna keep going forward, because
That's the biggest worry for me.
A motivated Nylander is a Nylander that is gonna live up to that contract by far.
Like big contract years, like they happen a decent amount in the NHL
Hmm.
and I don't know what it is, but it kind of scares me when there's a huge jump in terms of point production within a contract year. And obviously last year he got like 87 points, but he's well above that pace this year. So,
Hmm.
um, it'll be interesting to see how he does after the contract gets signed. But nonetheless, I am very happy
Yeah, and
that we are making progress on that. That's like the biggest priority for Tree Living right now, I think.
mhm, exactly, I agree. And it's not like he's been alone. I guess like his that second line has been fantastic, and a large portion of that is Bertuzzi is finally, I guess, coming out and playing a lot better than he had early on in the season. He had 2 assists tonight, and he was a large factor in those two goals that the Leafs got early on. And I think the I think he's finally coming into his own, and I think he's finally getting his confidence and playing like the Bertuzzi that we saw in previous seasons, like we saw with the Bruins. And I think it's right. It's at the right time where the playoffs are coming up. They're around the corner. We're not halfway through the season yet, but he's ramping up, and it's good to see. He's performed pretty well the last couple of games. What are your thoughts on Bertuzzi tonight and the last couple of games?
Yeah, like the last couple of games, I think was particularly bad for everyone. But honestly, Bertuzzi
Yeah,
as a
but
player, yeah, as an individual player, I thought, he's one of those players that like every time you see him on the ice, he always looks like he's just giving it his all, you
mm-hmm,
know?
mm-hmm,
And it's a very needed thing, especially when we're like, in this game, like the forecheck was like the best I've ever seen it this season, you know?
mm-hmm,
Like it was
mm-hmm,
really tenacious and honestly, like just yeah, like it's exactly what we needed, within our top six is that like tenacious forechecking. You look back at guys who've succeeded in that role, and you see guys like Michael Bunting, who was fantastic on the forecheck, and Zach Hyman, fantastic on the forecheck. He's got that skill set that kind of you know complements our other star players, and I think that came through in spades today. Like just really solid game from him.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Now we're gonna talk a little bit about Samsonov, but before we do, just remember we're gonna have a quick presser at the end of this or towards the end of this game over. So make sure you throw your questions down in the chat, and if you're here, there's 55 of you. Thank you guys for being here. It's almost 2 a.m. here in Toronto. We appreciate you guys coming out and commenting in the chat. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit subscribe if you haven't already. We are literally 1K away. We're right there at 100,000 subscribers. So any
Yeah.
subscriptions, likes, they all help out. Now, some big news coming in. Samsonov has cleared waivers. He's not going to be assigned to the Marlies, but uh, he is going to get some time getting one-on-one coaching with the Marlies, the goalie assistants and whatnot, right? The coaches down there. But I believe the reports have said that he's not actually going to start any games for the Marlies. It's mainly just a conditioning stint where he's going to get some practice and some reps under him. What are your thoughts on the direction that the Leafs are going with this, and just on Samsonov getting or clearing waivers?
I mean, clearing waivers was sort of expected. I don't think anyone was really gonna
Yeah, yeah.
jump on that. But I really liked Treliving's comments in terms of both like the human aspect in terms of how Samsonov reacted to it and how to get him back on his feet. To me, it makes sense to have like just a complete mental reset where he doesn't have to really get into game condition, for this next week. Now, obviously, I'm not expecting him to take a week, without having to play games and then suddenly come back and be a star. So I think he's going to spend a decent amount of time in the AHL, and I'm assuming that he's going to get games in the week after.
Hmm.
Um, and honestly, like the Marlies also need goalie help at this point, especially with Hildeby called up. So I assume they're going to need him eventually.
Hmm.
And when he does get games in, I'm kind of hoping to see a little bit of a more mentally strong Samsonov. You can see in his body language and the way he's reacting to shots that he's just completely off his game. So like it's a very much needed thing for him to kind of get a mental reset. So honestly, I'm totally for it. I like what they've done, and it needed to be done. Like he just wasn't playable.
Hmm. Exactly. Yeah, hopefully he gets his head right, and hopefully this works out, because Sammy was a huge proponent of the success we had last season, especially
Yeah,
in the
people
playoffs.
forget he put a 919,
Exactly.
save percentage last season.
He outplayed Vazzy in a couple of games,
Yeah,
right? So having Sammy back to himself, or back to how he was playing last season, is going to be important, and it does give just a lot more flexibility where if we have a good tandem, then that's something we don't have to worry about, and then True Living can focus more so on the blue line. Now let's get into some of the questions here. There's quite a bit. Some funny ones. They're inhaling coffee to entertain you. Slap the like button like it owes you money. Yes.
please.
Wall is obviously considered our best goalie. but Samsonov
Yeah.
and Jones both have shutouts. Why? What does the team do differently in front of those guys? Do you want to start that off? Or do you
Does
want me to
Wall
go?
not have a shutout this year?
I
He does, right?
I gotta check
But
that up.
yeah,
You can check it out.
Samsonov and Jones.
Check it up in the meantime,
Samsonov
but
shutout.
yeah.
Yeah, Samsonov shutout was pretty. Was that the Nashville game? I want to say it was the Nashville game.
My brain is
I'm gonna have to
fried.
look it up.
I am not gonna remember this, but I'll start off with answering this. I think really what it boils down to is it seems like the team is just more confident in front of guys like Jones and Wall who it seems like they have more trust in, right? So when they are playing well in front of those guys and they are able to afford a or they can count on your goaltender to make a couple saves or some saves that are high scoring chances like Martin Jones did tonight. They can play with a little bit more freedom, especially offensively, and they don't have to worry about, hey, like we gotta completely shelter this guy, otherwise he is gonna get otherwise like we're in for trouble, right? So I think that's what really it boils down to. And again, Samsonov hasn't played well in this season, and so he's had assignments against worse teams usually to try to shelter him, and we know how the Leafs play against worse teams, so that doesn't bode
It was
well
it.
for
It
that
was that.
either.
It was actually against Nashville, and I remember that game. Samsonov actually played really like that was his like one good game of the season. And I looked it up, and Wall also doesn't have a shutout this season, which is
Mm,
surprising given how he's been easily the best goalie. But yeah, I think that's just circumstance. I wouldn't put anything to it. You know, I think Samsonov. He's a good goalie. It's just a matter of being mentally ready for the game, and one game he was.
mhm,
Other than that, not really. And Jones, I think the team really does feel confident in Martin Jones as a goalie. In terms of like bailing them out when they make a mistake, which definitely helps in terms of defending and back checking and you just gives the whole team a lift, I think. So for example, today I thought there was a huge commitment to back checking from the forwards, which we haven't really seen over the past few days, and that really helps the defense out. So yeah, I don't know why. Yeah, I think it's just a matter of time before Wall gets a shutout today. But yeah, I mean shutout this season.
mhm.
But yeah, I mean an
Yeah,
interesting stat there.
that is a cool tidbit. Let me shout out the person who said that. That was Luke Venables in the chat. He mentioned that. We'll take one more question and then it's getting a little bit late. We're gonna cut it a little bit short. Matthew in the chat, do you think they should keep sticking with Marner on the first line? So, Armand, Marner had a little bit of a turnaround this game. He played better than he did the last game, and I know you and Lauren were talking about maybe
Yeah,
potentially moving him down to the second line as a punishment or whatever to keep him
yeah, he had a
responsible for the way
horrible
that
game
he played.
last
Yeah.
game.
Do you
Yeah, he
does
had a.
your do you have you changed your mind on putting him down, or do you think we should still put him down to the second line, throw Nylander up on the top line?
I will say okay. So last game over, we were very harsh on Marner, and I don't think he's been great this season,
Mm-hmm.
but even on the down year, like, he's still producing at a pretty elite rate. And I think he's still like top five in terms of slot shot assists.
Mm-hmm.
So he's still, you know, doing a pretty good job at what he does well. Um, you know, he had a good game this game, defensively especially. Um, and I thought he was pretty decent with Matthews. But with that being said, I also do think that Nylander Matthews works and Tavares and Marner work. And, you know, this past 4 or 5 game sample, I would say they've been more not their best than their best. And so I'm
Mm-hmm.
okay with keeping them until they falter again. Like tomorrow, I'm okay with them being on the same line, but they're on a short leash for me, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think the biggest thing with Marner is he seems like he's less inclined to join the rush, with Matthews compared to Nylander. And I think that's hampering him. He just looks a little slower offensively, and he's more focused on retaining
Playmaking.
possession and yeah, playmaking, but doing it in a much slower pace.
Hmm.
And I honestly just think that takes something away from Matthews in terms of versatility and playing the rush game that Nylander can play so well as well. But at the same time, I can't knock Marner for his game tonight. He was excellent. So like I really don't have an issue with it. I think it's a non-issue until it becomes an issue. I just want Keefe to be a little more open to adapting within a game if it's not working. Like in my opinion,
Yes,
last game they should have taken him away mid game.
you stole my
Like
point.
that's yeah. So like yeah, long term, are they great together? Yeah, but just be more open to moving the lines around within the game when it's not working.
Yeah, you stole my point. I don't think we should really be judging it game by game, but much rather period by period. If they have a period where they're not gelling, they're not working, and Marner, you can see he's having a bad stretch of shifts, then swap them out that same game. I think that is the important. Then don't wait till it's too late. Don't wait till after the game, because at that point you can't really change much. You just kind of get him, or his confidence is going to be low. He's going to get completely destroyed in the media for the next couple of days before the
Yeah.
next game, and it's not going to do well for a guy who clearly his Achilles heel is the amount of pressure that he puts on himself,
Yeah.
and the amount that he truly cares, right? Because when stuff is not going right for him, he's similar to Samsonov, where he wears his heart on his sleeve, and you can tell he tries to do too much, and it
Yeah.
affects his game. So I want to see more adaptability from Keith, like you said, in the game itself. And if they're not working in one shift, get some changes out, because like you said, we're in a good situation right now where those guys are kind of interchangeable. They've had multiple stretches of time where Nylander was paired with Matthews and Marner was paired with Matthews, and both of them truly work. So it's really about playing whoever's hot. But yeah, I think that's gonna be it. Do you see any other questions that you that interest you, or let's call it there?
Let's call it there. I gotta wake up in like 4 hours. So
Yeah, 37 minutes in. Well, thank you guys for joining us tonight. We appreciate each and every one of you making it out today. There's 70 of you watching right now. We truly, truly appreciate it. It's almost 2 a.m. I don't know what you guys are doing up, but we love you for it. Make sure you hit the like button, make sure you hit subscribe, and tune in for the next game where we play the Ducks literally tomorrow on the second half of back to back. And who knows, maybe our 6'7" humongous goaltender of of a man. I don't even know if that makes sense. My mind is fried. He might be playing in net, so keep an eye out for Hildeby. But that's gonna do here from us. Have a great night, everyone.
yeah.